Welcome back. In this video, we're going to dive into an introduction to interactive design. And in our next session, we're going to turn up the volume and do an infographic using the same techniques. So, we would like to do two things here. Firstly, on our second page of our presentation, we would like to create a gallery over here with buttons. And when you click the buttons, it would scroll to the next photo in the gallery. You'll also have a caption underneath the photo that will change every time the photo changes. The other thing we want to do is make this map interactive. At the moment, we have the buttons appearing, or the locations, and then the photos for them. But we want it so that once the button is clicked, or once you roll over the button with your mouse, only then does the image appear. And when you go off the button, that image would disappear again. Right, let's jump in. So starting on page 2, we first have to create the gallery. Okay. In order to create a gallery, we have to create a multi-state object. That means it's an object, or in this case, an image frame, that has multiple images inside it. We do this by going to Window, and we're back on the interactive menu, and it's called Object States. Okay, at the moment, this object is not yet a multi-state object. The moment we click on the little menu and click on Use State, it becomes a multi-state object with 2 states. So we can call our multi-state object
gallery images. Now, we need
to select the different states. Watch carefully. If I'm on state 1, obviously I have this image. Now I click on to state 2, and I double-click on that frame. If you don't double-click, it's not going to know that you're trying to define the second state. Now we can go File, Place. And you'll find the images again under our digital PDF, under the links folder. And let's swap it over to a different picture. And we open it. If we did it correctly, you'll notice now you have state 1 and state 2 with different photos. But we want full photos over there. So we have to go back to either click on the plus here, or we click over here and click on New State. Creates a third state for us. Now with that state selected, we double click on the image again. And we can go place another photo. And let's do it again. New state, double click, and we place our last photo. Great. Okay. Now, we have the multi-state object. We're not going to create the buttons yet. We're going to go back to the different states and give different captions to the different photos. Oh, I see. I've got one state that's got the same picture twice. Let's just quickly change that. There we go. Okay. Now, in order to change the captions, what does the caption box or the text box need to be? Also, a multi-state object. So we click on New State, and we'll call this multi-state object Captions. Now, on state 1, we're going to define what that state is. And we need to remember what was the pictures, because we have to do it in the same sequence. I'm just, for the sake of this, going to say Cape Town, Clifton Beach. Then I click back onto that object state. State 2, I change the caption. Oh, sorry. Aerial, or let's say Cape Town City. can't quite remember the sequence. That's city, that's aerial view, and the last one is lion's head. We go back to our caption, make a new state, and the third state will call. Or let's say take down from above. And we create a last state. And we change this to
lion's head.
Right. Now we have those two multi-state objects, and we named each of them. Great, because now we can reference it in the buttons. I'm going to create a forward button. Let's make it arrows. So we'll just draw a little line over here. Make it blue. So outline blue. We'll make it thicker. And under my stroke, I'll make it with an endpoint arrow. Okay, we don't want that arrow quite so big, so we make it 50%. Right, so there's my button to move forward on the gallery. We copy that, we put it on the other side, and we'll do a flip so that it points to the left. Okay, let's move this in. And let's align the two so we're both selected, which is aligned and to each other's tops. Great! Now, we need to program those buttons. So we're going to select the right-hand button first. Okay, it's not a button yet. We have to go to Window Interactive Buttons, and we define it as a button. What's that button supposed to do? Let's look at our actions. Which one do you think? There is go to next state, because we want to tell it to go to a specific multi-state object and go to the next state. So now it's going to ask us, on which multi-state object do you want to go to the next state? And there's the two that we created, captions and gallery images. So we're going to say, change gallery images to the next state. But at the same time, we put a second action. And you say, go to next state for the captions as well. So can you see there's two actions for that button? Great. Let's do the left-hand button. Also the same. We'll in this case go to previous state. For what? The gallery images. Second action, go to previous state, captions. Right, let's test it out. Okay, there's my buttons. There's the forward button and the back button. Look how the captions are also changing. Fantastic. Okay, let's dive down to our last page. Now, gets a bit trickier. When we created the animation, remember when we went to Window and we set the animation? By default, it just names that animation group. If we want to interact or build interactivity around a button that should call an animation, we need to name it properly. So we'll call this one Cape Town Harbor Animation.
Okay.
Done. We'll get back to this in a moment. This one we'll call Clifton Animation. And the last one, Table Mountain Animation. Right. And what I want you to notice is at the moment, all the events that trigger these animations are set to on-page load. What do we want? We want them triggered by the buttons. We don't want them there to be there in the beginning. So, if I expand my animation panel with properties, you'll notice right at the bottom, you've got these two options: hide until animated or hide after animated. We want to hide all three of them until we call them. Now, we haven't assigned them to buttons yet, so we can't take that on page load off. We'll have to come back to that. So let's program our first button. We're gonna go back to window and buttons. And what is our action? That button is supposed to, what do you think? Call an animation. What is my animation name? It was Cape Town Harbor animation, and play the animation. Great, we could make rollover states if we wanted to, but I'll leave it. So we've got our one button programmed. Let's go to our next button. This is also a button object with the action animation. And in this one, we're going to call the Clifton animation. And the last one is going to call the Table Mountain animation. Right. Now there's one thing we still need to do. Remember the on-page load. Now that we've assigned it to a button, when we kill the animations, it all of a sudden has that on release, which means it's been assigned to a button. And we can click next to it and untick on page load. We don't no longer want that.
All right.
And there you go. So we test it. Let's save our document.
Okay.
The buttons will fly up. My animation isn't showing yet. When I click on the button, the animation appears. How awesome is that? Now what about we make these buttons into rollovers? So that when I scroll over the button, it appears. But when I go out of the space of the button, they disappear. Let's see if we can do that. So instead of an event on release or tab, we're going to tell it on rollover. What do we need to happen? I'm going to take just on the click that action out. Okay, let's take it out for all three of them. Okay, back to my first button. We want to tell it on rollover. What do we want? We want it to play the animation Cape Town Harbor. And what happens on the roll off? On roll off, play that same animation Cape Town Harbor, but reverse the animation. Smooth out. You know, whatever the animation path was, just remove yourself. Let's do the same over here. So on roll over, we call the Clifton Beach animation. On roll off, we reverse that animation. And we'll do the same to the last one. Alright, great. Let's see if it works. Okay, old farms, let's see. Scroll over, it appears. Off, it disappears. Great. So that principle, it takes a bit of understanding and practice. but you'll get it right. And make sure that you test this out and get this right before you continue on to our next session about infographics, because then we're going to go a little bit more complicated with this. So we finished. Let's publish it and see our final product. Give it a moment to upload again. It's uploading the video clip as well. And there's my final link. Let's open it up. We're going to scroll over to page 2 where we have the gallery. Here's my gallery with my buttons, and I can click through my gallery. Look how the caption is changing. So think about the possibilities here. You can have one button that brings up 3 boxes of content, whatever boxes of content that might be. Say it's a whole interactive way of displaying your information. Let's scroll to the last page, and here we have the rollover effect. Appears, disappear. Appear and disappear. Right, are you impressed?